And so I would just kind of haunt Artist Alley and eavesdrop on all these old cartoonists grousing about editors or showing each other how they inked or what pens they used. And I just tried to absorb all that. So that was kind of how I started my comics education, was like at San Diego Comic-Con. And
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and today I'm going to talk about what, in my opinion, it might just be the best comic series of all of 2019. Now that I've finally gotten to this last issue, and with me is a lover of all things fine indie comic, Skip. What's up, buddy?
Hey man, so excited to talk about this one. So happy, and I definitely echo the sentiments. Criminal needs to be in everybody's pool box, and we're gonna tell you a little bit of why that is.
So Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips have been a powerhouse creative team, for a decade now, even longer, I believe. Doing these awesome crime noir stories. They've done multiple chapters, graphic novels of Criminal. This is the latest one. They released it, in floppy format, which I do believe in the end this is going to read better as a graphic novel or as a collected edition. The first story, I believe, was called Bad Weekend, has already been released, and this one is called Cruel Summer. This is the last issue. When in the very first issue of Criminal, at the end, we learned Teague Lawless is going to die, somewhat soon. He's going to fall in love. And we knew this is kind of where the story was going. At the very end of Criminal number 11, Dan Faraday, who's basically a private investigator who was a Vietnam vet, who kind of fell in love with Teague's girlfriend and is trying to save him from Teague, shoots him in the chest with a shotgun, and we think that's where he died. But that's not exactly what happened now, is it, Skip?
No, we come to find out as this issue opens up that it was that like he had shot him, and it was rock salt. So
And he
and
had
I, and he had a vest. So yeah, because otherwise the rock salt still would have gotten his chest, and it still would have jacked him up pretty bad. But the vest, it was good. Said it just felt like getting hit with a sledgehammer. I'm like, you know what? Who knows how it feels to get hit by a sledgehammer? But if anybody does, it's probably Teague Lawless with his crazy life that he has. But Faraday's gone. I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting his girlfriend's name. What was it?
Jane.
Jane, and Jane's gone, and the guys haven't come yet to meet at the house to basically count out the score from the robbery that they just quote unquote got away with. But man, oh man, and the biggest thing is that right before Faraday, shot Teague, he asked him, he was like, "Remember me?" And Teague cannot remember who he is. So he is racking his brain. One of the guys finally shows up as Jane and Faraday are speeding off, and he's just yelling at the dude like, they got a part of our, like, the dude's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Go." He wants to go for Jane, but they also have a part of the money. He's like, they got a part of the money, go. And man, the story just really, really goes from there, Wes.
It was insane. It's not anywhere where I expected the story to go. And when they introduced Dan Faraday, he was my favorite character in the series. I was like, oh, he wanted to be a cop, but he was on the take. He couldn't hack life as a police officer. But in here, he's crazy. Like he thinks he's trying to protect her. He won't listen to her, and so no, there's never a good character. They're a great actualized character, but everyone's bad in the end of the series. And for the first time, I was like, oh man, I don't want this guy to win, but I assumed that he was going to, and then boom, out of nowhere, Jade and Dan's car gets hit by a truck and they die. She's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like, didn't see that coming. And right before that happened, I like the fact that, like, talk, like, I felt the same way you did, Wes. I'm like, okay, Faraday's here. Teague is a terrible character. And at the very least, Teague has someone who, in his own way, is just as crazy and just as, just another person to kind of butt heads with him and create that perfect tension that we like, in stories. And he's in the car with Jane, and he starts, characterize, hey, da 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 da, and I knew he was going to do this to you, because he has fallen kind of almost obsessed with her in a way. And she starts like, with her history of men, like, I know men like this. They're kind of the most dangerous because they feel like they deserve me. They feel like they deserve my love or this or that. So the thing that caused the wreck is that, as he was trying to like comfort her, like, you're safe now, we're going to get out of here, there's a better life for you, all of that, she's just like, you don't have the right to tell me like what to decide with my life. And like,
she's also handcuffed to the door. He's kidnapped her.
Yeah, let's be honest about that. Yep.
She's fighting for her life, and it causes the wreck. But
yep,
it was crazy. And then just a really interesting, introspective amount of internal dialogue goes on for Dan Faraday. It starts, or not Dan Faraday, Teague lost a couple weeks later, and this is the opening line, and it kind of floored me. It said, the closest Teague had ever come to this kind of pain was the time he realized he loved his children, but that was a pain he could push away and run from. I was like, man, how heartbreaking. This is a lawless family, and his relationship with his son Ricky is very complicated in the story, and a lot of what this story, Cruel Summer, is about is like the cycle of violence and the cycle of can Ricky break away from what his father is? Is he exactly who his father is, kind of thing? What is his identity? Is he gonna be just like his dad? And you can see where all this comes from, and it really is his father.
Absolutely, it's a cycle of dysfunction in their family, and what's even crazier about it, like, I'm thinking as you're saying that, because that was such a key line and just fantastic writing and characterization, and it's like you have to be around people to observe stuff like that, Ed Brubaker, in order to like put that in your memory banks and then cash it in a book like this. But what set it up even crazier is that the other story, what was it called again? Bad Weekend, which I already have in the collected edition. Read that book. It's 2 issues. It is a love letter to comic book lovers, comic book creators, in classic Ed Brubaker criminal fashion. So everybody go and read that. It is tremendous. But Ricky is in that story too. Remember, he's the guy that helps the comic book or he helps with a robbery that happens in there. I'll say that because I don't want to spoil that separate one. He helps with that. And remember, the guy that was in there, his buddy, was the one that was saying like where Ricky came from, and Ricky was dangerous because he was always trying to outdo his father, and his father had was like this notorious character named Teague Lawless who everybody knew about, and Ricky was trying to outdo the name, outlive the Lawless name. So you think about, so if you take that little tidbit and then you apply it over to this story, where now remember the reason why Dan Faraday even knew where they were is because Dan had ended up finding Ricky, and Ricky tipped him off because he was pissed that Jane came in. Like, he and his father already had like a dysfunctional relationship, but it was a relationship that Ricky was like familiar with, and it was comfortable to him. And then she comes and shakes it all up. His dad gets happy and giddy, starts acting weird, and then he finds out that they're gonna do this job and then leave Ricky somewhere and run off for a little while. And he's like, and now I'm about to lose my dad. Screw this girl. I want her out the picture. And then he tips him off. And then Ricky, seeing how depressed his dad is now that Jane's gone, decides within himself, for whatever strange reason, that he's going to kind of confess to his dad what happened. And then the kitchen scene.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Teague Lawless is not a good guy. So when his son says, hey, this was all my fault, the reason Dan Faraday found you and Jane, was me. So Ricky's best friend walks in on him. His dad's choking him. Looks like he's, maybe going to kill him, going to do something really bad. We know he already broke his arm once, earlier in the story. He doesn't treat his son well. He picks up the gun and he shoots him in the face, right in front of Ricky. Right, he's the one that did it, and he knows. He even says it before he does it. I know my father is going to take the gun and take the blame for this and die in prison for what I'm about to do. And he does it anyway. And you see the 2 boys in the back of a car, shell-shocked at what they just witnessed. And the cycle continues. Ricky Lawless will never escape his father's shadow, as seen in Bad Weekend. It's just, it's a very depressing ending, but it fits the story perfectly. It's not a fun book to read, but it is fantastic. It's one of the best comic stories. It's one of the best stories, period, I've ever read. And I just I can't say enough great things about it. If you like crime noir, if you like stories that are noir in nature, this is as good as it gets, in my opinion.
Easy, hands down. Noir, crime, concise, interconnected awesomely. And like I said, even planting seeds in other books. And the fact that in the very first issue, they set it up and said exactly, like what was going to happen. And then finally, 12 issues later, they pay it off. It did happen. It happened that way. And for us to kind of think we knew a little bit with Dan Faraday coming to the picture how it was going to happen, for them to turn it on its ear, yet still deliver, is why Ed Brubaker is hands down one of the best storytellers we have in media right now. And I hope he continues to get more stuff within film and everything. But this concludes not the Cold Criminal line, but this concludes this Cruel Summer, the summer of '88 storyline. He did say in the book that there's going to be like a collected book, like a trade that he and Sean Phillips are going to put out called Pulp. I guess Sean Phillips challenged him to write a Western. He's writing a story about a writer from 1930s who writes Westerns. I guess that's as close as he can get, but it looks good. And they said then, I believe in the summertime, Criminal's going to pick back up. So if you guys are behind it all, please go back, get the books, catch up, or just reread them again. Support this great storyteller, because in the summertime we can all be caught up, and us here at Thinking Critical will definitely be covering and reviewing those stories.
All right, how many stars do you give this one out of 5?
Dude, 5.5. I give it 7, dude.
5-star. This is as good as comic book get. This isn't superhero, it's not capes, but this is phenomenal comic book storytelling. The art, the story, it's perfect.
It's all there. Pretty much a flawless book. I can't find a flaw within it. So everybody definitely check it out.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.